One.
Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Templeton Advisory Committee. It being 6:30, I'm going to call this meeting to order. The Templeton Advisory Committee regular business meeting is being broadcast live on TCTV Channel 8 and the TCTV YouTube channel. Responses will be made to comments in the TCTV YouTube channel as time permits. The agenda and meeting materials for this business meeting were posted to www.mytowngovernment.org/01468 no later than 48 hours prior to the scheduled meeting, in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts open meeting laws. The chair reserves the right to add items to, remove items from, or change the order of the agenda. However, the agenda is posted in advance to give the committee and the public time to review the agenda items and to ensure that the meeting runs within the allotted time frame. But this time, I would call upon us to rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I would invite any member of the public who is present. I think you're the only one, Gail, at this time, but do you have any comments that you would like to make, or? Okay, thank you. For old business, we have the minutes of the September 5th, 2024 meeting. It should be in front of you. I would ask that you take a moment to review it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have had time to review them, and I would make a motion that we accept the advisory committee September 5th meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Hey, Mr. Caplis, is there any discussion?
Just real quick on page 2, about halfway down, I'm sorry, page 3. Under section K, the diesel emissions and effect on the town. I think that there's a couple suggestions that I had explore funding options to be able to buy 2 trucks, and that we passed a resolution that we look to consider purchasing 2 trucks. And to be accurate, I think the discussion was a truck or trucks, that we didn't really make a determination on whether it should be 1 or 2. So I would hope the minutes would reflect that.
So it would be,
So about halfway through the paragraph, Moser suggests they explore funding options to be able to buy a truck or 2 trucks before the end of the year.
See, I have be able to buy 2 trucks before the end of the year.
Correct, and I don't think that that was what
Yeah.
was reflected in the meeting or in the discussion.
oh, so you're suggesting that 15 lines from the bottom, that to be able to buy a truck or 2 trucks.
Yes,
Is that correct? All right. Would you be willing to amend your motion?
That's fine.
Okay, Mr. Caplis?
Sure.
All right, so with that change, at this time, we'll call for a vote. Mr. Caplis?
Yes.
Macomber?
Yes.
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 yes,
And I also vote yes. It passes 5-0. Well, obviously, the purpose of our meeting tonight is the pre-town meeting. At this time, I would entertain a motion to open the pre-town meeting warrant at this time.
so moved.
Second,
Any discussion? Right. I'll now vote. Mr. Caplis?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Richard?
yes.
Yes,
And I vote yes. Right, so the meeting is now, the pre-town meeting is now open by a 5-0 unanimous vote. And the way I would like to conduct this is, one of us will read the warrant. And then I will ask Adam Lamontagne as our town administrator to explain the warrant. And then any members of advisory who wish to ask questions of Mr. Lamontagne or any of the department heads who are here tonight, please do so. And then I guess you're the only member of the public, but I would give you a chance to respond or ask questions as well. And all I'd ask is that you state your name and address, even though we know who you are.
Thank you.
Right? Okay. And I'll read the first article, which is amending the FY 25 operating budget. And that is, the article reads, to see if the town will vote to amend the FY 25 operating budget by reducing the sum budgeted for debt service by $24,076.00 to $2,076,918, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, majority vote required. Bill Montaigne.
This is actually some good news. This is actually a drop in the budget. What happened was there was a discount, a subsidy that we applied into the budget that shouldn't have been included. So this is to adjust the debt, and moving forward, we'll make sure that that's in the budget.
Does any member of advisory wish to question Mr. Lamontagne?
Remember, your general fund budget's $10,871,090, and your total overall budget's $19,936,400. So it would drop by $24,076.
Any further discussion? Okay. Move on to Article 2. What we will do is at the very end of the meeting, as Mr. Caplis had in the past, we will have votes as to what our recommendation would be. Okay, Article 2. To see if the town, Article 2, sewer payment to the general fund. To see if the town will vote to transfer $95,000 and no cents from sewer retained earnings to the general fund, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, majority vote required. Mr. Montaigne.
This is $95,000 coming from sewer retained earnings. This actually went to the sewer commissioners, and they agreed to take it out of their retained earnings when I had a conversation with the superintendent over there, Jeff Aldrich, who's at the meeting as well. So I thank Jeff for being here to also answer any questions. But this was a year-end transfer that we took out of the general fund to help support the sewer department, and they're just making us whole. And we worked with the sewer commissioners on it, as well as the sewer superintendent, who's here.
And my question would be, was this related to the Rotary in East
No.
Templeton?
No, related to, I believe, unanticipated repairs.
Unforeseen expenses, repairs.
Right. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope.
Sure. Article 3 is the Main Street Bridge debt exclusion for repair. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $4 million and no cents or any lower sum for the purposes of repairing the Main Street Bridge, including all incidental and related expenses, and to meet said appropriation, to authorize the treasurer with the approval of the select board to borrow such sum under and consistent with General Law 44, Section 7, or any other source of authority. Said amount contingent upon passage of Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion ballot question in ordinance with General Law 5921C, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore, and that any federal or state grants awarded prior to assurance of bonds will be used to reduce the amount borrowed by the town of Templeton, or take any action related thereto, submitted by the select board, 2/3 vote required.
One thing.
Here we go again, huh?
Yes.
Kind of like deja vu.
Like
round
two.
Yeah, round two. This, you all are aware, missed by 2 votes, in the local election. This will actually be question number 6. The select board approved the question to go on to the state election ballot. So you'll see that as question number 6. This time around, we put the $4 million. That was our best number we received from our senior project engineer. And, we're going forward with this project. I also wanted to share the fact that, I'm feeling pretty good that and optimistic that we should be able to get some type of grant or some type of funding after receiving a call from Congressman McGovern. It's on his radar screen. I also want to thank Representative Zlotnick for really talking to the congressman and advocating for this project. And I also want to commend the work of our grant writer administrator. She did a fabulous job on this informational sheet. This will also be in the voter's guide, so people are more aware, because we're trying to bring as much education to the issue as possible, so people fully understand the rehabilitation of Main Street Bridge and how important it is not only for economic development relative to Cement Paper Company. You have Otter River Pub, excellent place in town, and just the overall public safety of the residents. First, our police and fire could get over that bridge. And I know Chief Dickey was really happy to see the number included this time, so I want to pass this out.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
I know you keep track of the record.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for this one? If I may, Mr. Chair?
Any questions of the board?
I just, a couple questions maybe. My recollection is that when this came up in front of town meeting last, there was concerns that there wasn't a number associated with the vote. And now there is. And that's, like you said, your best estimate of what you think the costs could be. Do you have any insight on what offsets there could be, whether through grants or other funding that you referred to through either the state or federal monies?
Well, we're looking at various different, thank you, Mr. Moser. We're looking at various different grants, Mass Works. The congressman's also going to look at, he's actually has his staff working with our grant writer to identify some other grants. And he also committed to a grant support letter as well. I kind of want to answer this question though, relative to, let's say if we didn't get any grants, right? What are we looking at for the impact? And we're looking at, if a dollar raises $1 million on the tax rate, roughly, it's a little over $1 million. And let's say I'm going out 15 years, let's say $340,000 a year over that course of 15 years. We're really looking at 0.34 roughly, right? So folks to really understand, so if you're looking at 0.34 on the tax rate, on an average house of 300,000, you're looking at roughly $100, even if we didn't get a grant. I think that's important for the public to understand. Those are my late, I mean, those numbers, I'm going to double check before town meeting, but those are my rough numbers. Thank you. And keep in mind, we also had $350,000 drop off from fiscal year 24 to 25.
Well, I'm impressed that you have your staff working with the staff of the congressman. So hopefully that bears some fruit.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I appreciate the congressman for reaching out and really providing us support as well. And Representative Zlotnick. And Senator Durant as well.
I do have a comment, and I'm really appreciative of the fact that you published this. And I just hope it gets in the hands of the voters at the time they go to the booth. The person that I voted with when I voted on this the last time thought that the wording of the question was confusing. And I really think that contributed to this failing before.
It was 2 votes,
Oh,
but it was a failure. Yes.
but I do think that the language and maybe the lack of publicity might have contributed to that. And I do think that this is a very good effort.
Thank
to
you.
inform the vote.
I'm very fortunate to have a good staff. I really appreciate my assistant town administrator, Holly Young, as well as my administrative assistant, Kelsey, and grant writer, Graceland Curry. They do a fabulous job, and I really appreciate all they do. I couldn't do this all by myself, and I'm very fortunate to have a good staff that I could count on.
Any-
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes,
is there a possibility that there can be a mail out on this for the residents of town? The only reason I ask is, once again, so many people do mail-in voting.
Mhm.
So if they're not on the internet and seeing this for that particular article, I wonder if it could go out with the light bill or, I mean, we've done stuff like that with important things like this in the past. It's just a thought.
We're getting really close. I could check if there's a bill going out. I don't believe there is by then. I'm not seeing any yes faces. But we do plan to put it into the voters guide at the town meeting. So all the people at town meeting could see it.
Mr. Chair, I also would like to
Aye.
comment, you saying that the wording was on the ballot was very confusing. I also agree with that. Also, I don't know that many people knew it was there. I will tell you that I was walking away and I looked down and I noticed it and then went back. Because the way it was on the bottom of the ballot, I think a lot of people just didn't know it was there. So I appreciate Mr. Lamontagne saying that it's question 6, so it draws attention to people when they're out voting, because that was important. It was kind of just blended in at the bottom.
You're right. And I think with the other questions there's gonna be a lot of interest in the questions.
Yeah.
So I think it actually works out quite well that the select board placed it onto the state election ballot. I think that was a good idea, and we're educating the public as much as we can so they understand, get the right information out there for them.
any further discussion? Mrs. Hosek?
Yeah, I'd like to give my 2 cents. I just want the public to know how important it is for this bridge to get done, because we also have Hamlet Mill Bridge, which isn't in the best of shape either. So if those 2 bridges end up being closed, it'll definitely have a great impact to the town. I know the select board and the town administrator's office, as you guys discussed, they worked on refiguring and putting the information out to the public and present it in a better way than the last time, so. And if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to call either. But I just want to stress how important it is to get this bridge going to the public. It's gonna mean a lot.
Okay, thank you.
So again, I would reiterate that we should be doing a mail out. Should have at least been considered.
I'll look at,
If you want it out there,
yeah, I'll look into it.
you know,
Just getting times close.
yeah, the time is crunched now, but
All right, thank you. You want to read our?
Sure. Article 4 is sewer roof borrowing. To see if the town of Templeton will vote to appropriate the sum of $490,000 and no cents for the purposes of financing the replacement of the administrative building roof at the wastewater treatment facility, including without limitation all costs thereof as defined in section 1 of chapter 29C of the general laws. That to meet this appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow $490,000 and no cents and issue bonds or notes thereof under chapter 44 or chapter 29 of the general laws as most recently amended. That such bonds or notes are expected to be paid from the sewer department enterprise fund revenues, sewer receipts, but nevertheless shall be general obligations of the town of Templeton, and that any federal or state grants awarded prior to issuance of bonds will be used to reduce the amount by the town of Templeton or take any action in relation thereto. Submitted by the select board on behalf of the sewer commission, 2/3 vote required.
Thank you.
Now I could have you come up. I mean, maybe I should kind of explain the beginning of it.
Yeah,
Would that be better for you?
Sure.
Okay.
Works.
So the sewer department, as you know, they're an enterprise fund. Right? So everything, like even light and water, if they go out for debt, it has to go all through the town. And with this project particularly, we're gonna look at doing a ban for this, right? A bond anticipation note. So that way a ban will probably have open for a year, maybe 2 years, depending on where all the costs come in. And hopefully in that time period, we'll have the final cost. So whatever isn't utilized or we're gonna, we would be able to rescind it. Do you have anything further you want to add? Or do you want me to cover more?
You know all about the borrowing.
Okay. You want to talk about the technical aspect of what you're dealing with the roof?
Yeah.
So they're
I mean,
aware of it?
basically, the roof's leaked. 30 years I've been there and tried to fix it. And it leaks as bad now as it did when I started.
What kind of roof is it?
It's a corrugated roof with a rubber roof that was put on it, like 95 over it. So now, if you get a good heavy rain, it leaks behind the rubber roof and leaks through all the old leaks underneath the rubber roof. So it leaks no different than it did before they did the roof in 95. They've tried to fix it numerous times. So the commission voted to replace the whole roof, everything. Basically.
If you don't replace it, the decking underneath it is gonna continue rotting, which is
It's all
gonna
rotted.
bring the cost more up.
They're gonna open up to sunlight, put a whole new roof. So,
Any other
Just,
questions?
just so everybody's aware too, because this is a sewer enterprise fund, so we're gonna hold the debt, but they're, whatever the payment is in the budget, they're gonna cover the town will pay it, then they will reimburse the town or cover, treat it as revenues to the town.
I mean, it's 29 years old, correct?
Needs to get done.
The roof, I mean, it's time.
Finish the one at the
You
senior.
have my
center.
support. I mean, come on.
huh?
You have my support.
That-
We Band-Aids.
Put one into it and slowly.
It's almost 30 years old. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? All right, there being none, I'd like to go on to Article 5. I have a question, perhaps Mr. Caplis or Ms. Richard, you can help me with this. Can we waive the reading?
You can, but I would recommend that if you can
Or just read the bold?
read the
part?
bold parts, right? Because that, yes.
Right, that's fine.
Yeah, if you all could, I mean, it's in front of all of you. I mean, to read the bold, I mean.
Yeah, I'm gonna read like on those radio ads.
Yeah.
Oh, you read that fast? Okay.
I can always wave and not read it all,
We could. I think the people would be happy.
but
with
we
that.
can be nice and read the bold.
Read the bold.
Yeah.
No,
no,
we're
it
gonna
matters.
read the bold. Okay, Article 5, Council on Aging Bylaw Amendment. To see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 9 of the general bylaws as follows. 9-20 Establishment. The Council on Aging was established by the town of Templeton on May 8th, 1976, under authority of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8B. This bylaw was established by annual town meeting vote on May 12th, 2021, Article 14. The next section is 9-22. I'm sorry, 9-21. Be membership, appointment, terms of office, compensation, officers. The council shall consist of 5 members who shall be appointed by the select board after filling out a committee interest form that is available on the town website or the town administrator's office. After appointment, members must be sworn in by the town clerk. Terms of office shall be for 3 years, and members can be appointed for consecutive years. Members of the council shall serve without pay. The council shall select their own officers, chair, vice chair, and secretary. 9-22 duties. The duties of said council on aging shall be: A, identify the total needs of the community's elderly population. B, educate the community and enlist support and participation of all citizens concerning these needs. C, design, promote, or implement services to fill needs or coordinate present existing services in the community. D, promote and support any other programs which are designed to assist elderly persons in the community. Section 9-23, officers, quorum, and voting. A, the board of directors of the council shall consist of a chairperson, vice chairperson, and a secretary. Officers of the council shall be elected at the annual meeting in July of the council by majority vote of the members present and shall take office upon election. B, election of officers to fill vacancies created by death, resignation, or other cause may take place at any regular or special meeting and shall be for a period of the unexpired term of the previous incumbent. C, the chair shall be the chief executive officer of the council, subject to the direction of the members of the council, and shall have general knowledge of the business affairs and property of the council in its general operations. The chair will prepare an agenda in conjunction with the director and shall present at all meetings. The chair shall ensure that each member have access to a copy of Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 to 25. D, during the absence or disability of the chair, the vice chair shall exercise all the functions of the chair and, when so acting, shall have all the powers and be subject to all the restrictions of the chair. E, the secretary shall, 1, cause all proceedings of the meetings to be recorded and posted on the town website. 2, cause all notices to be duly given in accordance with these procedures and Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 through 25. 3, cause the performance of all duties, including correspondence pertaining to the office of secretary. 4, cause the permanent retention of records, i.e. minutes, rosters, etc., in accordance with the Secretary of State's Municipal Records Retention Schedule 001.157 as of March 1st, 2023. 5, cause the maintenance of a roster of council members with dates of term expiration, number of terms, as well as any office held and dates of said terms. 6, cause the record of attendance of council members. F, at all meetings of the members of the council, the presence of 3 board members shall be necessary and sufficient to constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. The vote of at least a majority of the council board members present shall be necessary, sufficient to decide such business, consistent with any applicable state and local laws. 9-24 employees. The council may appoint such clerks and other employees as it may require. Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 8B. 9-25 report. In accordance with town bylaws, the council shall submit an annual report for inclusion in the annual town report and shall send a copy thereof to the State Department of Elder Affairs. Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 8B. Submitted by the Council on Aging, majority vote required.
John,
Well done.
We get you some water?
rest.
Got water.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna hand you a water.
Okay, this time I would call on Mr. Lamontagne. If you could please comment on the necessity of the need to change the Council on Aging bylaws.
Just to clean up the language, Selectman Bennett spent a lot of time putting that together, and then when he sent it over to me, he sent the final draft that the Council on Aging completed. And I had to go through and just align it with the crossouts, all the language from the current bylaw to the new bylaw, so folks understood what was being changed, what wasn't being changed. They had some language in there before that didn't really make much sense, like they would have to approve their own people. It was kind of weird, so I'm happy Jeff took the initiative to clean that up.
You're nodding your head, Gail.
Kathy King and I revised them and coordinated with Jeff.
Oh, you did?
To do that. You know, because yes, they were there were conflictions and new rules since they were last passed, so we brought it up to date.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
That's what I said. Any questions?
Anybody?
Mr. Chair, just a quick one. And so the council, so you assisted with this
Yes,
and the council is okay with the select board, say they get 30 committee interest forms, they're gonna choose your 5 people. And you're
it's at least
comfortable.
5 people. Doesn't have to be just 5.
Right, but you're comfortable with that. So they'll review the interest forms and choose who's gonna sit on that. You're giving them the power to do
Doesn't
that.
have to be just 5 though, that's what I'm saying.
Right, I understand that,
Yes,
but
oh, and we would choose.
you're giving
correct.
authority to them
Yes, instead of coming before
completely
the selectmen all the time to do this.
to request
Mhm.
individually. Okay. Got it.
Mr. Chair. So the Friends of Templeton Elders has no
No.
forbearance
No
on this,
bearing on
correct?
it.
No,
No bearing whatsoever.
no.
Correct.
So they can't, okay, that was meant, okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Good job. Oh, Jeff, good, right? Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good that people collaborate to do this.
Yep.
All right, any further discussion? Okay. Being none, Okay, Article 6, retention of tax deeded lands.
I'll do that. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to retain for its use certain tax delinquent properties for which it's foreclosed, the right or redemption, and acquired through tax deed for the following purposes. Parcel 1, Hubbardston Road, for assessors map, for the highway and general municipal purposes, or take any other action there too.
Okay, Mr. Lamontagne.
This, we're planning to keep the parcel. This is Hubbardston Road next to Laurel View. This was for highway and municipal purposes. You wanted to keep this property. Did you want to kind of explain to them why you want to keep it?
Well, if drainage is the big thing in the future. I believe that's gonna be your lowest point for retention area or otherwise. But, I'm sure that's a ways out, but it would be smart to hang on to that until we get some there's a drainage all up in that area that's gonna be added in the future. And it's the low point of the area.
Keep in mind, the town has accepted Laurel View Road. I mean, I know Julie already knew that, but for the folks that aren't aware, it was a long ongoing thing, and the town finally accepted that road. So Bob's been maintaining it, the residents there, haven't complained whatsoever. They're just happy they don't have to fill the holes anymore. Since now we accept.
And there's also a big cross culvert up on Laurel View that comes into that area as well, so where they just voted to accept Laurel View.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense to hang on to that.
I do have a question, of either Mr. Lamontagne or Mr. Silvsick. Is this a buildable lot? I mean, is the town potentially losing any tax revenue
I don't.
by not being able to build on the lot, or are there wetlands that prevent building, or the size
I think
requirements?
there's a lot of wetlands, but Ari would know that more than any of us.
That is a very wet property.
Oh, that's right, you were reviewing with us. Lori was there as well.
All right, so
We're
it can't, more than likely cannot be built upon.
I wouldn't say it can't be built upon. I would say there would be an awful lot of hoops to jump through with notices of intent and probably reclamation. It is really wet. So,
So like if a builder were to develop a property, right? And there's wetlands nearby within a certain amount is in the buffer zone.
have to
to
relocate.
file Notice of intent, you have to file the whole process. Depending on how much, I mean, if the whole property were wetlands, you're looking into some serious problems. And I'm not even sure if it's buildable at that point, if it's all wetlands. I don't believe it is, but it's up to the Conservation Commission anyways.
Okay.
Coming from my experience as a Conservation Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, so what would you use that property for, just for potential water,
Drainage.
a waterway usage type of thing, or you're not
So
storing
like I say,
equipment
if
there
we-
and stuff like that?
If we put up drainage up on Hubbardston Road.
Yep.
And the engineer's gonna need a detention area and manholes and cleanouts and everything, so. That's where it would all happen.
Excellent, thank you.
Do you have a question, Mr. Moser?
No, well, I guess, I take it there's no structures on it right now.
correct.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, very good. We'll move on to Article 7. Anybody wish to read?
I'll take it for you.
Okay.
Article 7, sale of parcels, tax deeded lands. To see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to dispose of certain tax delinquent properties for which it foreclosed the right of redemption and acquired through tax deed as follows. Parcel 1, 677 Patriots Road, land of 13,680 plus minus square feet, with building structures, Board of Assessors map 309, parcel 70, Worcester County Registry of Deeds, book 69608, page 342. Parcel 2, 12 Farnsworth Road, land of 50,520 plus minus square feet, with building structures, Board of Assessors map 3-13, parcel 17.8, Worcester County Registry of Deeds, book 69979, page 135. Parcel 3, 279 Royalston Road, land of 69,690 square feet plus minus, with building structure, Board of Assessors map 4-03, parcel 17.4, Worcester County Registry of Deeds, book 69979, page 136. And further, to authorize the select board to execute, deliver, and grant such deeds as it deems reasonable, appropriate, and in the best interests of the town to effectuate the transfer of title and the purposes of this article, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, 2/3 vote required.
Thank you.
Excuse me, what I was saying, in his ear, I didn't want to interrupt Mr. Moser, was anything that's given to the board prior to a meeting has to stay in for the record as well, so we have to give it to, for the upload. That's all, thank you.
So you gave me one copy?
Those are the property cards for all three properties. I only have one copy, so I believe you could look at it and bring it down to Kelsey.
Sounds like a plan to me, thank you.
I just wanted to have it up there, so, that's why I didn't speak when I don't want to interrupt you. But also, we plan to put these out, for auction sale. However, would like to town meeting to approve these three parcels, like they agreed with several tax deeded properties on October 26, 2020. That's when we got the authorization to sell 10 Pleasant Streets lot. You're probably familiar with that burnt out structure that the town successfully removed and has since successfully sold for roughly $76,000. And we have three more coming this way. So I think you'll see a nice pretty house being built at 10 Pleasant Street. And we're hoping to put these out, and there are, the chair and I have already spoken about this. We had a one-on-one discussion. And I did inform him, the treasurer's been going through trainings with these new rules going into effect. We have to be cognizant of these new rules, and we'll be sure to follow the law as it's spelled out.
So you're not gonna put them on the MLS, right?
That you can't do that.
I know.
Now what,
Not yet.
now what,
November 1st, that's how they will have to go.
Oh, really?
Yes, right?
See, that's why we're gonna have to review the whole law.
That's right.
And there's still a 3-year look back on that rule, so you have to, any excess has to go back to the owner of the property or any of their heirs. So that money will have to be put aside, any excess, to be saved in case they, there are heirs or whatever. There's gonna have to be a lot of looking for that to get a hold of those people and pay those funds back.
Well,
now if I may, I spoke, and this is really for the benefit of, the public and also my fellow board members, is I first became aware of this new law a couple of weeks ago. And the purpose of the new law is to make sure that when the town sells the property, that after their expenses, that if there is excess equity, it should go to the prior owner of the property and not just into the free cash funds of the town. It's really an equitable relief, form of equitable relief. And I have discussed the importance of implementing or following this law with Mr. Lamontagne, and he has assured me that he will set up, if necessary, a separate escrow type deposit account in case that there are equities in the property that need to be returned to the prior owner. This is certainly a very real possibility because of the sharp rise in housing prices, particularly over the last 3 years. And it was the reason for this law is that, properties were being sold in other towns. There was equity sometimes in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that equity was going into the free cash, accounts. And I believe there was litigation, although I haven't, read it, but it's a serious issue. And the reason why I bring it up is, I do appreciate, Cheryl's, devotion and knowledge of this issue. But, it really is something, that we really need to keep close track of. Because if you, put into free cash and the cash disappears and somebody has $100,000 in equity, you can imagine the potential effect on the town budget. And, I just think it's very important to be on top of that.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, further, I recognize my staff, but I do also have to recognize my department heads. They also do a substantial amount of work, and I'm thankful to have them, and they go under trainings and they bring back a lot of information and sometimes I learn something new here and there. So I'm thankful to have a good team.
And I would add to that is that, but for, but for Cheryl going to a seminar and learning about this law, I mean, the laws are getting so complex and we're a small town with limited resources. And sometimes the only way you can go and get information is through seminars. And, you know, when the last two articles come up, you know, I gained a lot of knowledge by a seminar that I attended recently. You know, they're invaluable, very invaluable. So I just wanted to point that out for everybody. Is there any further comments or discussion? Yes,
Maybe the excess after our portion is taken, maybe the excess can go to foundmassmoney.gov and that way it's up to the heirs to go find it.
No, we have to do the research to
We
try to
do?
find the
Okay.
heirs.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be able to, you're gonna have to go to bid. You're gonna have to get an agent to come and assess the property. You're gonna have to sell it for at least 2/3 value of what they assess it as. It's gonna have to be an independent person, can't be a person from town, can't be a person that works, has any relation to the town. So it's gonna have to be an independent auditor, a real estate agent that comes out and assesses the value. 2/3 value, then you're gonna have to sell it. They're gonna have to sell it. We won't be able to auction them off, so we won't have control. It's not gonna be, they're trying to fight that right now because that's not transparency. The real estate agent can say to his buddy, hey, I got this property coming up. Get a sale from there and it's not going out. When we do an auction, the auctioneer comes and he sends a butters, businesses, he has his relations. He spends a lot of money sending out notices to anybody, potential buyers. Now you got multiple buyers as opposed to
Oh,
a realtor who might have a group of people he's trying to sell to. That's not the transparency we want to have. So the association's trying to fight that right now. There's still gonna be changes to this law that if it goes through on November 1st, I don't think it will. I think it's gonna end up being the next fiscal year. But again, there's still gonna be that 3-year look back. And if we sell something, we're gonna be accountable for those excess funds.
can I ask you a question related to that? Does the legislation, you must have read the
I
legislation.
was at a meeting Thursday for this.
Does the legislation say that you shall hire a real estate broker or may?
I
Right.
believe it was shall, and that was discussion we had the other day. That you're not gonna have a choice. And so you're gonna have to go up to bid for this. We have to send notices out differently. It's not just, I agree with the excess equity should go back to the person. The town is not in the business of making money off people. We just need to get our taxes paid and get this back on the tax roll. That's our goal. Whatever's excess, I totally agree with that. But the work they're expecting us to do is over and above what is our jurisdiction. It's just, so we'll see what happens. I'm sure it's gonna get set in place. It's gonna probably stay like that for a year. Then they'll maybe come up with some tweaks, stay like that for a while, and again, until it gets worked out. There's a lot of work on our end that now is gonna be required of us. Sending out a constable to post a notice on their house. It's gonna be a lot of work.
Well, I think it
And
may.
and cost.
I think it may be litigated, because if you have the scenario that you described where there's a real estate agent who lists the property and sells it to a buddy and then flips it again, I can see that being litigated. To me, that's a huge hole in the
Yeah.
law.
Oh, there's a lot of holes in this. And the association is trying to work with them and, get it so that it's equitable and. Like I said, I totally agree with giving the excess to that is their equity in the house. We just want our taxes paid and we want it back on the tax roll. That's all, we're not in the business of making money off somebody's house.
Mr. Chair, my concern is gonna be, I mean, obviously, this is gonna be another line item, budget item that we have to maintain
may.
for. Which, yeah, we might get reimbursed at the end based on the sale of the property, which could be a year, 2 years down the road where it's gonna be.
Mhm.
But that's still gonna be upfront money that has to come out of the budget. That has to be a line item for as well. So that's just gonna be something new.
Let's be assured that we're gonna follow the process and proceed with caution.
Because, I raise this because, you have the HEROES Act, you have this act. you have the Affordable Housing Act. I mean, those are three major acts that have passed in the last few months,
Mhm.
which really increases your administrative burden significantly. And if you run afoul of your additional administrative burdens, the effect on the town could really be huge. And I'm very concerned about that. I really am. Is there any further discussion?
I mean, just my comment, looking at the three properties in front of us. Kind of excited to clean up the town a little bit. Been there since I was 10.
Yep.
People didn't pay their taxes. I mean, and I would put all my trust in the town and their department heads that are going through trainings and whatnot, that know this is gonna be a difficult situation, but you gotta support them, and it's about time on some of these, you know?
Cheryl
We,
wasn't.
we've
Cheryl
been
wasn't-
working on this for years to try to clean up.
Gloria and I have gotten together and.
It's
gone through some of
unbelievable.
these Properties and the ones that she's gonna be able to work on and.
I mean, what do we do? Wait till they fall down or hurt someone?
Hmm.
We're not gonna really have an option, because there's too many of them out there.
Right.
They're everywhere. They're all over town. These are only three.
You're
I'm
right.
not overly concerned. As long as you stay on top of it,
We-
please, and thank you.
Yeah. there are
But you know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God, it's about time. I get
average
excited every time I see
For
these.
in Wayport for over 4 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not a quick process.
it's not, because those came in front of us 5 years ago.
They've been in tax
Yeah.
title for quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's all I had.
Okay. I'm gonna end discussion on this article. Article 8, I cannot participate in the discussion of this article. I'm going to hand the gavel to Mr. Moser as the co-chair.
Sure,
I can read it too, if you'd like. I
sure.
haven't read one.
Yeah, I was gonna pick you.
Give you a
actually.
break.
Thank
Oh, you were gonna pick me
I
anyway.
sure was.
Sure you were.
Wait for us.
Article 8, ambulance, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $450,000 and no cents to purchase an ambulance with necessary equipment from ambulance/receipts reserve for appropriation account, or take any other action related thereto.
Submitted by the.
Oh,
select-
submitted by the select board, majority vote required.
Thank you. Mr. Lamontagne, would you and or one of your department heads address this?
Sure, I do want to appreciate, you got the fire chief here with me. I appreciate the fact that you were working on this. I think the chief before you were too, where we finally got to a situation where we're able to purchase an ambulance right out of ambulance receipts. That's a huge accomplishment, and I got to commend the chief in his department for all their hard work, getting us to this point where we could purchase an ambulance outright. I think that's a huge thing. We could all be proud of that. So with that, the fire chief, you want to kind of explain your plan and how you're gonna approach this?
The ambulance we're replacing was a 2014 ambulance, has an air ride suspension, not a hydraulic suspension. Pretty rough ride in the back of it for patients and responders. Every year, the maintenance in this piece goes up and up. I just had to sink a little bit of money into the air conditioning for the back cab with back patient compartment, which you wouldn't think is much, but state mandated that I have it. The ambulance was actually out of service for a few months this summer because it didn't have the air conditioning needed to put a patient back in that area. Like Mr. Lamontagne said, we've been working hard since we started the billing process to get to a point. The voters in town made it very clear a couple ambulances ago. Now that we're billing, why did 2 ambulances ago come out of taxation? That was the last one. The last ambulance we purchased in 2020 came out of our billing account. We did take a lease on that ambulance, 5 years, which has been paid off. This new ambulance, we have been able to maintain our budget in a way that we've been able to save and gonna be able to purchase this ambulance outright with no lease. That would be approximately about $80,000 savings, just in interest alone. The money you see at the 450,000 actually does have a contingency fund so that if prices go up, I'm not gonna have to ask for any more. So I'm actually hoping to keep this purchase less than that 450,000. But we're looking at several different types. They range anywhere from 18 months to 3 years out. And just because we sign a contract now, in the contracts they make us sign for added expenses. So if chassis costs go up or parts go up, we still have to come up with that extra money. Just because we lock into a price now doesn't mean that that's the final price. The best I found right now, one manufacturer that follows all Mass State bid laws and so forth, was able to purchase a bunch of chassis and start some demo boxes and everything that we can still change a little bit for the way we want. And I have a lead time down to about 18 months on that one, if town meeting approves us to do this. If he sells the dozen boxes that he had by that time, I'm looking at a 3-year wait on an ambulance. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was very helpful. Any questions? Any of our members? All right, I have one, Chief, we had a discussion last time we were all here about diesel vehicles and changing rules and regulations. Is that something that's gonna impact you as well? Is that?
So the changes that are coming up with diesels, as of this point in time, emergency vehicles are exempt from them. You know, we still have to follow the DEF laws and so forth, but we're actually, a couple of the vehicle possibilities here are gas vehicles and not diesel. We haven't made a decision on which way we're leaning yet. Diesel is a little bit more to maintain, but we lose a little bit of power when we do that and change to a gas vehicle. So diesel right now is still the way to go for emergency response vehicles.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would just acknowledge that to see the progress that the town has made and your department's made in going from having to pay the lease last time and pay it off over time to be able to have the money set aside for that purpose right now, that we can do that and save $80,000 or more for the town.
And if I can even say, this will not deplete our savings either. We have more capital needs coming in a couple of years, possibly for the ambulance, our cardiac monitors. The newest generation is out. Our monitors are 9 years old. We'll be looking at new monitors at, right now, when we bought them, they were $50,000 each. Those have gone up, so we're trying to put forth the savings to be able to pull that, you know, in the future as well. So we're doing the best we can with the funds that we make from service and not go overboard with spending to be able to try to keep up with our capital needs without having to come back to the community for tax dollars.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
I think this is just great news. And I really commend the work of the fire chief. He worked with me closely on the budget these last couple of years to make the ambulance side sustain itself. So I just appreciate that in general.
Great, thank you very much. All right, hearing no other questions or comments, we can move on to Article number 9. Chair?
Thank you. Thank you, Ken.
Do you want me to read number 9?
Sure.
Sure. Article 9, extraordinary inspection workload. To see if the town will vote to transfer from certified free cash the sum of $40,000 and no cents to the account of development services for additional compensation for the building commissioner, plumbing/gas and electrical inspectors to account for the additional inspection workload created by the construction and renovation at 12 to 16 School Street, the former Baldwinville Elementary School, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, majority vote required.
Mr. Lamontagne.
Thank you. I'm happy Lori stayed. She has her,
Cheat sheet,
yeah, they. Did you pick it up?
they have them.
Oh, okay, great. Here, I'll move. I got the word's copy.
Oh, yeah.
Here. Thanks, Lori.
Right, as I'm standing in for the town administrator, I'd like a raise.
So moved.
Second.
So when we have a huge project like this, our regular budget does not cover the amount of time that it takes to go through the 50-pound plan that they need to go through. So I need to have some working capital to pay them for the work that they do that's not inspections. With this building, the actual permit fee will more than cover the $40,000 that I'm asking for. It will actually be a permit fee of approximately $350,000. So it doesn't actually come out of our residents' pockets, so to speak, because that 350,000 will go into the general fund. I just need something to work with in the meantime.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay, so what you're saying is we can put up $40,000 and get about $350,000 as a thank you in the back
Yes.
end? All right, I like that.
And it doesn't actually include the funds that'll be coming for the electrical inspections, plumbing and gas inspections. The 350,000 is approximately the building permit fee.
Okay, do you anticipate that this $40,000 amount will be sufficient to cover the remainder of the project, these needs?
It will cover the extraordinary difference. The inspectors will still be paid their regular through our revolving fund.
Right.
So just as a example, our inspectors, plumbing, gas, and electrical, their permit fees are approximately, well, they are $100 per inspection. The inspectors receive 80%, the town receives 20% through the revolving funds.
Thank you.
I hate talking in front of people.
Oh, you're doing that.
Doing just fine.
So I guess to ask it a different way, do you think that you would need to come back and ask for more than this $40,000 for the same purpose?
I do not.
Mr. Chair, I think we had a similar situation. We had the school built.
Yes.
So we did the same idea. And
Exactly.
that school, I think, it was a school, that was a $400,000 permit fee, and then the electrical inspector and the plumbing inspectors got their fees as well. So it worked out in the end from the.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
All right, Article 10, Special Stabilization Fund. See if the town will vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 5B, to establish a special stabilization fund for the purpose of purchasing police vehicles and small highway trucks, and further to raise and appropriate, borrow or transfer from available funds a sum of money for the Special Stabilization Fund, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Select Board, 2/3 vote required. Mr. Lamontagne.
This will be a special stabilization fund. You probably remember, maybe Julie might, maybe John, when we created the infrastructure stabilization account where we have, put monies away into that, but this one's particular to the police and small highway trucks, because we hear, the folks at town meetings say about, how much meals tax. So the idea is basically whatever we get from meals tax, once we get the free cash certified, we're gonna put the exact amount into this stabilization fund. Now, this is subject to a policy being adopted by the select board as well, but that's the intent of the special stabilization account. And then that way it'll be used for those specific purposes. And I think that will clear up a lot of confusion at town meeting from folks. And I think that I'm speaking to the best I can for this board, but that's how I believe the intent is to create the special stabilization account.
I have a question
Okay.
for you. I am very interested in seeing down the road, pilot monies, that the state pays the town for lands that are used, to go into some kind of a fund. And I think that if this was done, well, let me go back. There's about 20% of the land in town is owned by the state. And Mayor Wu, the mayor of Boston, has proposed that lands that are owned by the state or other entities, that they be taxed, that payment in lieu of taxes be in the amount of 25% of the value or the taxable value of the property. So what that would mean for Templeton is you have 20% of the land, which is roughly $2 million on the municipal side. Might be, if you add the school, might be $3 or $4 million. But let's say for the purpose of illustration that it's $2 million, 25% of that is proposed by Mayor Wu would be $500,000 per year. And this is greatly in excess of what the state now pays, which is $150,000 a year. And 2 years ago, the state was only paying about $90,000 a year. I'm really thinking of going to Representative Zlotnick and other state reps and say, hey, the town should be paid according to the Mayor Wu suggestion, which I think would be very helpful for the town. And I think one of the things I see is what is the limit of the dollar amount that you want to spend? Like for the DPW, if you had this, additional pilot money, you could buy, anything that Mr. Sosek may need. But it appears that you're really limited to small trucks.
Well, and that's why, let's say if there wasn't sufficient funds in there, let's say in one fiscal year, we would keep depositing in there with the policy. And then it might be the following fiscal year, we could buy it outright. But I'm telling you, that meals tax is growing. So I'm pretty confident that it's gonna be we're gonna be making some pretty good deposits in there.
Because my vision, so to speak, is that if you have the state pilot and if you have the meals tax, you probably have about $700,000 a year between those two. And $700,000 a year is about what you need year after year after year to replace the rolling stock of the town. So there's a really very close synergy or match there.
I understand what you're saying.
And I just want you to think of it.
I'll ponder it.
Yes.
So how much is in the meals tax fund now?
Meals tax is brought into the general fund.
Right,
So
but Kelly was able to tell us how much.
It has its own general ledger account.
Right.
Yes. Has its own general ledger account. So let's say we brought in,
I think 23,000 was this most recent quarter.
Right, so is that what we're going to transfer from free cash?
so
Or this
I
amount?
would prefer, but once the board adopts the policy, I can't speak to this because the board still has to adopt its policy.
Mhm.
But once the policy is adopted, what I would suggest to the board is, let's say in fiscal year 24, we bring in X amount, or fiscal year 25, we bring in, I don't know, $80,000.
Right.
Well, when free cash gets certified, we put that amount, $80,000 into this account. So exactly whatever we're bringing
right.
will be going directly into this account. Does that make sense?
Yes, except from the fact that it's.
Because it's still going to the general fund,
But why free cash?
because your meals tax money is going into your general fund still.
Right, going into the
But
general.
whatever that amount is gonna be the amount deposited from free cash. It has to be
It's
approved by. the select-
transparency. It's gonna show transparency to the townspeople that wanna see where the meals tax is going. That's what this is gonna do in the end.
Mhm.
But my concern, I'm gonna go with you on that, small trucks for highway. Not sure I like the wording. That's just my opinion. You need more wiggle room.
Yeah, and
So say you put 80,000 in, you're gonna give police 70, you're gonna give him,
Oh,
I don't
no.
know, a scooter
Oh,
for
that's-
Baldenville Road? What are we doing?
We were gonna get on a rotating thing, 1 year get a cruiser, 1 year get a truck.
Mhm.
I haven't, since this meals tax thing.
What is a small truck when it comes to a highway
Be a
department?
pickup or a 1 ton or a 550, it all depends on the economy and what the price is, I mean, I don't think it'll buy.
So there's a
550.
variety of small trucks.
Mr. Chair, and you can also use this fund also for paying leases, so instead of purchasing it outright, you can also have a police cruiser. And to say a 1 ton on a lease, say, and it coming out of that stabilization account as a payment, correct? Potentially,
eventually you have to
if the,
approve.
whatever the policy is written, so.
Whatever the
I get it.
policy-
Now,
Written in
is
the-
there also a possibility, we'll use 80,000 for, just, cause that can fluctuate, you don't know. So 80,000 from meals tax into this fund. And if I need another 30 or 40,000 to complete the truck through capital, is that gonna be able to happen?
As long as and that was my next question, as long as I guess how the policy is written by the select board.
Because keep in mind, this is really just to bring it to town meeting to see if we want to establish it.
Yeah.
So if they're in favor of establishing it, like Julie said, transparency,
Mhm.
then I would say we're transparent anyways, because you can still see it on the revenues anyways,
Okay.
but I think this provides specifically a
Some people
purpose.
just don't see it. Some people just don't see it.
Right.
Let's just say that, right?
Yeah, right.
What are you saying, Julie?
So I'm just saying that some people don't really see it. They want to know where every penny of that meals,
I sure
John,
do.
you know. So the new policy, when is that gonna be created by your Board of Selectmen?
I intend.
Before or after town meeting?
Well, should town meeting accept this, I intend to bring it to the select board at a meeting of theirs.
So they
after
would have
town
a
meeting.
time frame to put the policy in place.
Well, we'd have to put it in place before our next town meeting. That would be the objective, or at least by the fall,
Before-
following fall town meeting. That would be what I would recommend to the board.
Okay,
And it's hard for me to speak because I don't know
Yeah.
what the board's gonna adopt for a policy.
Right.
So I'm speaking kind of in theories here.
in theory, yeah, okay.
I think
So
I'd
the
like to
real-
ho- I'd like to hold your feet to the fire on that.
It's not
Quick-
his
quick-
feet you should be
quickly.
holding.
Excellent.
So basically, does town meeting want to adopt, establish a special stabilization fund? That's the question. And if town meeting's supportive, then we could proceed forward and adopt that policy.
Because we did vote for it at the last, either the last town meeting or the one before that. We all, at town meeting, we did create it wasn't a stabilization fund, but we voted to create one. But it went into the general fund instead. And this is to correct that.
That's not factual.
No.
I'd like to see the facts on that comment.
No, if I may, it was an informational sheet. That the information came from. I wasn't here at the time, but that's how I gathered it. It was an informational sheet pushing for when town meeting voted to adopt the meals tax.
Okay.
And that's how it, originally, that's how you hear about it, was the informational sheet. That was
No,
used.
but I got up at town meeting and asked, cause I changed the warrant to say that this money will go toward meals tax. And, the wording wasn't sufficient and it didn't pass. It passed as it was.
Oh, you're talking about what you did, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue with you on what you did.
Mhm.
Okay, okay, is there any further discussion? Right, moving on to Article 11. Anybody care to read?
Sure, to see if
Thank you.
Article 11 FY 2025 capital article. See if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $40,000 and no cents for capital as generally described below. Department, Buildings and Grounds / Parks and Rec, trailers, $40,000. And to meet said appropriation by a transfer of said sum from certified free cash or take any other action related thereto. Submitted by the select board on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Commission. Majority vote required.
Thank you. Mr.
Welcome.
Lamontagne.
Thank you. I could also, because this actually goes well with the next article as well. So let me take a moment to pass out the free cash plan.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This kind of goes with this article as well as the next article for the deposits. You see $40,000 here for the two tractors. These are both much needed. This is after discussion between Parks and Rec and my Director of Public Services. For two tractors that could help maintain our parks and well as all of our town properties. This is something that I think will work out well. And I think Mr. Sozik here, do you want to kind of elaborate on the importance of getting both these?
Well, the importance is, every year, every capital since I've been here, I put in for a tractor or a lawnmower. When we first started, we were rotating them out on every capital year, so it's been a few years where we haven't been rotating these out, and the cost of maintenance is going up and more breakdowns. So where we haven't had one rotated out in a while, this will help us out. The Park and Recs tractor had an unforeseen breakdown, which the motor blew up. And the tractor's too old to dump thousands of dollars in. So they're in need of one as well as buildings and grounds. But like I said, last year, every year I put this on, just like the trucks on capital, and we're not getting them. It's equipment that's well needed to maintain the properties in Templeton.
Any questions?
Do these get shared between buildings and grounds and Parks and Rec?
Sorry, what was that?
They get shared? You gonna share them? Or are you gonna?
No, they'll be getting their own.
And
One
so
of
when
each.
there's breaks, they come in for the second one, right?
Right now, they're borrowing spare.
Which
to
is
get 'em,
what just happened, yeah.
We're hoping to maintain all of the fields, whether parks or town properties, the common and the like. And I think this is will be a good purchase for the town.
Any further questions? Okay, there being none, we're going to Article 12. Deposits to general fund stabilization and OPEB accounts. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $270,000 and no cents. Make deposits into its operations, OPEX, capital, CAPEX, and infrastructure stabilization accounts, and the OPEB reserve account as follows. OPEX, $95,000, CAPEX, $70,000, infrastructure, $70,000, OPEB, $35,000. And to meet said appropriation by a transfer of said sum from certified free cash, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, majority vote required. Mr. Lamontagne.
This is actually always my favorite article at the fall town meeting. I always like putting deposits into our reserves. And you probably remembered, we hit the target in our OPEX stabilization, but since we had to help the schools out, we ended up taking out $430K out of our OPEX stabilization. It dropped us a little below our target with our financial management policy. So you'll see within that free cash plan how we had to put in 0.5% of the prior omnibus, which put in a deposit of $95,000 into the OPEX stabilization. So our potential balance is a little over $1.3 million in our OPEX stabilization. So it's getting us closer to that target. Also, we were putting $70,000 to our CapEx stabilization. That will get us around $213,000 roughly. We're making another contribution to our infrastructure stabilization of 70,000, so that will give us, bring us to about 170,000 into our infrastructure stabilization. And we contribute to our OPEB at 5%, which is 35,000, 436,000 in there. So your OpEx 0.5% of the prior omnibus, your CapEx, we do 10% of certified free cash, infrastructure 10% of certified free cash, and OPEB 5% of certified free cash. It's directly by the financial management policy, and I think it's a good deposit that we're putting away into our reserves that helps us whenever we have to go out and do any type of borrowing or anything like that. So I'm proud to say the town has done fairly well. We're not was exactly thrilled to use the funds, the budget we're in now, but we had to help the schools. And that was a decision of town meeting, so.
Any questions of Mr. Lamontagne?
A question, this sort of relates to the last item that we discussed as well. If CapEx, infrastructure stabilization, and OPEB are all functions of percentage of certified free cash. And now we're also going to be theoretically, if Article 10 were to pass and the account were to be set up and a policy was to be established by the select board, moving additional monies out of free cash into the specific fund for vehicles. Do you have any concerns about managing free cash going forward with that additional money coming out for that special fund?
It's a good question, and that's really really going to be a healthy discussion amongst the select board. If we decide where they want to prioritize when we get our free cash certified, where do you want to put the funds? I know for years, I know my departments got mad at me because I just kept putting money away into the reserves, which when I'm putting money away into the reserves, you know, they're like, we have all these capital needs. So I prioritize myself with the board, putting money away. That's how we were able to build up the money. So we were able to help the schools, right?
Right.
So it's a balance. And quite frankly, it's gonna be a healthy debate that this where the board decides where they're gonna put the monies moving forward. And should the town meeting vote in favor of that special stabilization, that will be a discussion. And there'll have to be an adjustment to the financial management policy.
I'm confused then. What do you mean? Because obviously you're taking the free cash based off the ledger from the state deposits each quarter, and that's what you're gonna deposit into the key. Yeah, you're taking it out of free cash. I get it. But it's money that was already equated to the meals tax. Is that what we're talking about here?
Correct.
Yeah.
But it'll be coming out of, well, I can't speak to, that's why we have to have the discussion. I feel like I'm talking out of, you know, I'm answering stuff, but I can't really speak to that till the board acts. But I believe if we're gonna make adjustments to the financial management policy, there'll be an impact.
I was gonna say, I can see they're opening a discussion at least for changes to the financial management policy.
I agree.
If 25% of free cash is going to these three funds, not including OpEx. And then on top of that, if free cash flow was, quick math, $718,000 last year, let's say. And let's say 100,000 of that or 85,000 of that is from the meals tax, and that's now going to a specific fund. That's more than 10% of free cash flow, right? So, well, take a step back. Does the meals tax money you said earlier get certified into free cash, and that's what you anticipate then making a transfer, correct?
Monk, I would have to,
I know that that's not the policy yet because one doesn't exist, but you would say
that would be
might
what I
a
would, that
sufficient
would be
figure.
what I would recommend to the
Okay.
board.
So now instead of putting 25% of free cash coming out by policy, now we're gonna be closer to 40. Right, 35, 40. Okay,
I would say your math at some point.
thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you. Going on to Article 13. Article 13, affordable housing / water wheel circle. A non-binding question to see if the town will vote to recommend that the town purchase properties subject to affordable housing deed restrictions if and when such properties are offered to the town for purchase. Submitted by the select board, majority vote required. And this is obviously very closely related to Article 14. Montaigne?
Yeah, I didn't add that to the warrant. I didn't add that to the warrant, the select board did.
Article 14,
13 and 14, yes.
yes.
I believe they're trying to increase their affordable housing stock. That's the intent.
Do you care to offer any additional comments?
No.
Do any members, any of my fellow members wish to add comments at this time?
Are we specifically speaking about Article 13 or Articles 13 and 14?
We probably, if this, again, I would defer to Mr. Caplis on this.
You have to
The articles
maintain,
are so closely related.
They are,
Discussed closely.
because obviously one has to pass before the other one, so if one fails, then the other one's obviously not gonna be, so typically in any type of, warrant, it's each warrant is its own entity, which means you have to discuss each warrant separately. I mean, even though they do intertwine with each other, and to get the full balance, you probably need to look at both of them to get the full balance of what the scope is gonna be. But you have to only talk about each article, unfortunately. That's the way I read the.
Okay. All right, I think they are very closely intertwined.
Yeah.
Do any of my fellow members have any comments that they wish to make about Article 13? And it would also spill over into Article 14.
I just have concerns with the town getting into the real estate management business.
I
without-
second that comment.
Yeah, without really having a clear,
Water wheel circle, who's got the friend?
without having a clear idea of kind of what we're trying to accomplish. I mean, Article 14 gets more specific, but we spent some of the time earlier talking about the challenges of owning, managing real estate. And maybe the town wants, maybe the town doesn't want. We had a discussion about properties that were taken for tax liens, and all the challenges that can bring, not knowing what the next legislature is going to do or what all the rules are that the town would have to follow. It would be probably a lot more of a burden administratively for different departments of the town to manage real estate like that. And so I have concerns.
If I may, I would like to offer some kind of extensive comments on both articles. When I first saw these two articles on the warrant, I thought, as some of you here do, that the proposal was kind of crazy. I do not want to see the town in the real estate business or the property management business. And Article 14 seeks to spend $288,000, which is 2% of our municipal budget. And it's to be spent on affordable housing with all the other priorities, which to me, it sounds like an unfunded mandate from the state. But I'm going to tell you why I'm going to vote yes, both of these articles, even though it may sound contrarian at first. First of all, the town has lost 3 out of the 10 affordable housing units at Day Mill, and the select board does not want to lose more of those units. And I think your select board is being very strategic by proposing this. Affordable housing is very important. In the state of the town last year, it's right in the annual report, and I'll quote, "We must continue to address the issue of affordable housing. As housing costs rise, we risk losing the very fabric of our community." That's a quote. I also want to comment about the Affordable Housing Act. The state, Commonwealth, has made affordable housing the highest priority. And that is because the Commonwealth is losing adults aged 25 to 40 to other states due mainly to the cost of housing. And I saw this personally just last week. I had to take a friend to the emergency room at Haywood. And my friend was attended to by a nurse from Mississippi. Now, there's always nursing shortages, and maybe it's a temporary shortage and they had to bring in people. But in a meeting I went to discuss this, conference, where the lieutenant governor spoke, she spoke about the shortage of people in emergency rooms throughout the state. And quite candidly, I saw that firsthand. And you see it among, the people who pour your coffee or, the mechanics or the like. You go to Nantucket where every single house is worth $1 million or more. They don't have a working class. Nobody can afford to live there. The state is making affordable housing of the highest priority. They're going to spend for the coming year $4.1 billion. That's 8% of the entire state budget. And they are going to force communities to have at least 10% affordable housing. I invite you to look at the Gardner News just tonight. Is the town of Westminster state is telling them that because they only have 2% of the housing stock in Westminster is affordable housing, the state is saying to them, you need to build 210 units of housing today. Not yesterday, today, forthwith. And if you are at 1 or 2% of housing like Westminster or our neighbor Phillipston, the rural towns may be forced to build scores or even hundreds of affordable housing units, no matter how the town zones its lot sizes. The state's just going to come in and tell you, you got to build this amount. The first thing that Governor Healy did when elected was she asked her executive officers for a inventory of all the available lands in the state, and that's been done. And then the second step, which is part of the Affordable Housing Act, is that every single town is going to have a map with the free land available and how far away they are from the minimal goal of 10%. I had a chance to speak with Eric Shupin. Eric Shupin is the chief of policy at the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. He is the head honcho of, driving this. And I told him, I said that Templeton was ignored when you made up these policies. You should be funding the rehab of abandoned or tax lien properties, which Julie said they're scattered all over town, and they are. I said, you should be putting your money into that. You put your money into that, there's probably 50 properties that you just rehab, give us the money, we'll execute the rehab, and you have hundreds of people who could be housed, and you'd be over the 10%. The state has not at this time done that. But with the meeting is I told Mr. Shupin, I said, I told him about this warrant article. I said, you know what you're doing? I said, you are forcing the town to use 2% of its budget when you have other priorities, which are the police and the fire and the DPW. I said, we have literally millions of dollars of priorities, and yet you're telling us that we have to spend 2% of our municipal budget on affordable housing, which is a worthwhile goal. But it's basically, I told him it's basically an unfunded mandate. And the way I left it with him is I said that, we need to meet and talk with you about this because you are basically pushing us into insolvency with the way you thought out this process. So, and I think that conversation needs to be held, with his boss is Mr. Augustus. We need to really talk with these people. I think, and as I said, the reason why I'm going to vote yes is on this, and I don't care if it's 4 against me or 1 in favor, but is this issue is not going to go away because the state is really, they consider it a crisis. I don't necessarily agree 100% with that, but all their efforts are towards this. And if nothing else, if we, vote for these monies, I think the state would give us, reimburse us the monies, especially if we got in their grill and asked for that money. Also, I think that if we don't get on board with this and we ask the state for other monies, like, for a fire station or, an exemption of the DPW diesel, truck or any number, a host of other number of things. If we are not on board with this, they may really tuck it to us in these other areas. It's a very, complex issue. And also at the end of the day is, I think, it comes down to the core values of us as a town. And I'll read this again, from the policy is, we must continue to address the issue of affordable housing. As housing costs rise, we risk losing the very fabric of our community. And that's the truth. That's the truth, is we really, the state has paved a way to go ahead with this. And we really need to get on board that train, because if we don't, we could lose out big time. So that's why I'm going to vote yes, a recommendation of yes. And, I know that's perhaps not the majority opinion. When I first looked at this, I thought the select board was kind of crazy, but I really think that they are being strategic and forward thinking. Because by purchasing this property, you get to, after the rehab of the high school property, you get to within 1.5% of the 10% requirement. So you don't have to have a developer come in and say, we're going to build 100 units of affordable housing, and you can't tell us, which lot of land to build it on, because the state's saying that we can build it on, this lot of land. So the town will have, be able to retain its control over local zoning, which is very important. It's very, very important. But the town is going to have to, we don't have to do as much as Westminster, or what Phillipston may have to do. But, we are going to have to bite the bullet a little bit. Yes.
Not as a department head, but as a resident, so David Dickey, 427W. If that were to pass and the town were to purchase that unit, what's next? Who operates it for us? Does this go back to Empire, who manages that property, that we have to hire them to watch this one property for us? What are we gonna have for future money to go out to watch one property in this development? I understand what you're saying about we get closer to our goal, and maybe a developer can't come in and put it where they want and where we don't want. But at least with this school, we have a developer coming in who's gonna build the property, who is going to maintain the property and keep tabs of it and do all the work for it. Costs us nothing but getting tax dollars, and besides the money that the town has put into having it built in this first place. So what comes up next?
I agree with you. And, there's no provision as to how are we going to manage this? And really, you got to go to the state and say, you got to go to, Mr. Augustus and say, look, we're not in the property management business. And also there's the issue, you buy this property, you got condo fees, you might have, I don't know, you might have $4,000 or $5,000 in condo fees, that the town would have to pay for. And that's a negative. It's a negative. There's a lot of negative things to this. There really are.
Again, as a follow-up, I understand the first article to see if the town wants to proceed in a manner that gives us the ability to do this in the future. But as for that second article, we don't have any policies in place to do anything with it. And we are gonna, not only are we gonna take on the debt of the $288,000, but once it's paid, we have debt of what you just said, condo fees, if we get nobody in it, if we have management fees. I don't see where we're ready yet to purchase a property like this. And this is only me as a resident saying this. I feel that there needs to be a lot more work done to develop the policies on how we're gonna do it before we can purchase a property to do it with.
I agree with you 100%. But this is the other side of the coin. There were 10 affordable housing units at Daymill, 10. 3 of them, the way it works is that when one of those affordable housing units comes up for sale, the town has the right of first refusal. So 3 of them have already gone out into the open market and be sold. So those affordable housing, those units have been lost as affordable housing. And your select board wanted to stop the erosion of this. They wanted to stop the erosion of this.
But when that was purchased, wasn't it when that property was built, didn't they have to keep a certain percentage to affordable housing? So why
Yes.
does that not have to continue in the future? Why does it all of a sudden it have to stop? That unit should have been sold. They shouldn't have even had to come to the town to say, do we want to buy it for affordable housing? It should have been sold as affordable housing to keep their correct percentage, to be able to have that site up there.
But my understanding is that's not how it works. It's there, it's affordable housing, from the time that the unit was built. Now the unit is going out onto the open market. And all the town has is a right of first refusal. That's the way it was structured. And the town has not exercised its right of first refusal to buy prior units that came on the market. This unit is coming on the market. And in order to keep it as an affordable housing unit and to count towards the 10% threshold, the town, the select board has proposed, they placed this warrant article on the agenda.
It'll be interesting to see what the townspeople have to say about this particular article.
I agree. It will be very.
It'll be an interesting conversation at town meeting,
An interesting,
Not
and
for
necessary.
us to decide
conversation.
tonight.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I agree with you. I don't think we need to be in the housing market, but, let's not lose sight that we do have about 55 plus units, going into the Baldwin School as well.
Right.
In the near future, so just
Thank you,
keep that in
John.
mind. That's all I have.
But even if those came online tomorrow, we would still be under the 10%.
Yep.
That-
We're approximately 8%, I believe.
Wow, so
7 point something.
without them.
Okay. I would also offer, we do not have an affordable housing coordinator. There is a lot that goes into this.
Nor do we have resources in our coffers to manage
Right.
that. What's that?
To hire one, we
Yeah, we don't have-
have the funds.
And if we had a more robust reserve, maybe something we could think about, but I don't think we have it in our coffers right now to even think about that.
You couldn't just sell, buy it and resell it.
We're not in the housing market. The
I-
town's never been in the housing
I-
market.
I
You
think-
know how many properties this town owns right now? We should probably get a list. I actually had a list sent to me just recently, because I was thinking of another project and I thought, how much do we actually own? I want to say we're between 17 and 20. Whether it be a parcel of land or a building, houses that never paid taxes that got taken over, that took 4 years to get put on this table. We have other areas and they've done nothing with, they are on the back burner. So I agree that we should not go into the real estate market. We should not be getting overly concerned with this particular situation that's coming down, because I feel like Templeton's up there with so many other communities. We got 55 going into Baldwinville School when it's completed. And you have a couple of other places that have, affordable housing in town. It's not like we don't have anything and we're starting from scratch like Westminster. We have, some leeway here. We don't have to panic and start managing something that, again, would not be managed by the Board of Selectmen, because the policy, the Board of Selectmen are in place to set policy and balance a budget. That's it. There's like no other gray areas. If people that are on the board choose to have other gray areas come into it, that's fine, but that's not their job. That's not what they were voted to do. They were voted to set policy, not even a policy in place for Article 14 yet. And another article on here, not even a policy in place. They haven't done it. But their job is to set policy and balance a budget. Period. It's so, yeah, no, I'm
Thank you, Mr.
totally
Chair.
against this.
Thank you. I would also offer that the USDA, we currently have 5 abandoned houses here in town that just sit, that are government-sponsored affordable housing. We've been working on those, and it is an act of Congress to get them to move. So I think the balancing is a little off.
Well, I pointed that out to Mr. Shupin. I said, we have properties and we are handcuffed by procedures that take literally years to free up these properties. You need, the best assistance you can give us is to streamline the procedures if it's affordable housing. And I think the governor, with the stroke of a pen, could say, this is an emergency. Emergency preamble to.
Yeah, she's got some practice at that lately.
Yeah, like the
Very
guns.
much, very much.
It's the same thing what you do with the guns, she could do with this.
Well, I mean, we don't want to talk about that right now. How many times have you gone to land court so far in like the last 2 months, 3 months? I'm sure you know you pretty well, don't you? So, I mean, the king's business is being done, but I don't think we're ready for this at this point.
Just a crazy question. So if not just.
From you?
Not this condo thing, anywhere in town, if the town was to buy a house, is there a way the housing authority can take over the maintenance and responsibility?
Again, great question.
I believe that they could, or. I believe they could. I believe there's, that's part of the discussion that we should have with the state.
Thank you.
We have what we already own.
Can we're on 14 now? Mr. Chair,
Well,
we have to.
why don't we do this? Why don't I read Article 14? I mean,
Okay.
they are so closely related and,
Thank you.
all right, Article 14, acquisition of affordable housing at Water Wheel Circle. If the town voted yes to Article 13, to see if the town will vote to appropriate, transfer from available funds, or otherwise provide the sum of $288,184.00 for the purpose of purchasing the property known as Unit Number 8 in Building D of the Day Mill Townhouses Condominium located at 24 Water Wheel Circle, and to authorize the select board to execute any and all instruments necessary to effectuate such purchase, submitted by the select board, 2/3 vote required. And I think what I would like to do at this time, because I think we've kind of discussed both. Is there anything further that anybody on advisory would like to say at this time? Caplis,
I'm good.
I'm good.
Mr. Moser?
Just that I appreciate what you had to say, about your feelings on the affordable housing and, on this Article 14, I feel like there's a, okay, and then what, that's kind of missing.
I agree. Richard, do you have anything to say?
No.
Okay. All right, at this time.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I think Mr. Dickey had some say.
The question is, where would that 288,000 come from?
It's a great question.
Free cash, I'm guessing.
yeah.
Would drain our free.
Oh,
cash.
the only place we have
Would
anyway.
drain our free cash.
It would drain your free cash.
I mean, I'm just reality.
That would be my guess.
I mean, you have the free cash plan in front of you. I mean,
So that's not part of the free cash plan already.
not part of my free cash. plan, no.
Okay.
All right, it kind of dropped onto the warrant, rather late in the process, I think. Okay,
Can I make a motion to close the pre-town meeting?
do we have a
Second.
second? Okay. Do we need to vote? Do we need to vote first? or
We have the, I made a motion, she seconded it
Close.
to close.
Julie?
Julie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Moser?
Yes.
McCall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I vote yes.
Thanks, Bob.
I'll do that.
All right, there's my-
Miss you.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
All right, what I am going to do at this time is I am going to read each article, and I will call by alphabetical order each member. As far as the vote, yes, no, or present. Okay, Article 1, which is amending the FY operating budget, Mr. Caplis,
Yes.
Ms. Macomber.
Yes.
Mr. Moser.
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So it's 5 yes. Okay, Article 2, sewer payment to the general fund. Mr. Caplis.
Yes.
Macomber.
Yes.
Mr. Moser.
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, Article 3, the Main Street Bridge debt exclusion for repair. Article 3, Mr. Caplis.
Yes.
Ms. Macomber.
Yes.
Mr. Moser.
Yes.
Richard,
Yes, and I strongly request that you look at dates and maybe do a mailing on that particular one. Please.
I vote yes. That passes yes, 5-0. Okay, Article 4, sewer roof borrowing, Mr. Caplis.
Yes, of course.
Let it leak.
Robert.
Yes.
All is a cheap.
Same thing, yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I vote yes. That's a 5-0 vote, yes. Okay, Article 5, the Council on Aging bylaw amendment, Mr. Caplis.
Yes.
Ms. Macomber.
Yes.
Motion.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
I vote yes. 5-0 vote, yes. Okay, Article 6, the retention of tax deeded lands, Mr. Caplis.
Yes.
Ms. Macomber.
Yes.
Mr. Moser.
Yes.
Ms. Richard.
Yes.
I vote yes. It's a 5-0 vote. Article 7, sale of parcels, tax deeded lands, Mr. Caplis.
Yes.
Macomber.
Yes.
Moser.
Yes.
Ms. Richard.
Yes.
I vote yes. 5-0 vote, yes. Article 8, the ambulance, Mr. Caplis.
Yes.
Ms. Macomber.
Yes.
Moser.
Yes.
Ms. Richard.
Yes.
And I am a present.
Certainly are.
Can you explain that one? That particular present, what do you,
My son is a member of the fire department.
oh, so you use the word like you don't abstain.
I think it is the same.
It's the same.
The same, but it's just different wording. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thrown off by that a little. Thank you.
If I may for a second,
Yes.
so the votes 4-0-1
One.
present. Okay, that's all recorded.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna give you a tally sheet at the end.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Save you some time.
Okay, Article 9, extraordinary inspection workload, Mr. Caplis.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Mr. Moser.
Yes.
Ms. Richard.
Yes.
I vote yes. Vote, okay, Article 10, special stabilization fund, Mr. Caplis.
Yes.
Ms. Macomber.
Yes.
Mr. Moser.
Yes.
Ms. Richard.
Yes.
I vote yes. Article 11. Fiscal year 2025 capital article. Caplis.
Yes.
Ms. Macomber.
Yes.
Mr. Moser.
Yes.
Ms. Richard.
Yes.
I vote yes. Article 12, which would be the deposits to the stabilization fund in various amounts. Mr. Caplis.
Yes.
Macomber.
Yes.
Moser.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, Article 13, affordable housing water wheel circle. Mr. Caplis.
No.
Ms. Macomber.
No.
Mr. Moser.
No.
Ms. Richard.
No.
I vote yes.
No vote, 4-1.
Yes. And Article 14, acquisition of affordable housing at Water Wheel Circle, Mr. Caplis,
No.
Ms. Macomber.
No.
Mr. Moser,
No.
Mr. Richard.
No.
Ms. Richard,
No,
and I vote yes. Okay, that concludes the town meeting. Are you confident with the town seat?
I will have it all ready to go in the voter's guide on the webpage tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, the only other item I believe is individual comments. Richard, do you wish to offer any individual comments?
not at this time. No, thank you.
Moser?
Sure, I just appreciate having the chance to discuss this and for all the input from all the department heads and people that came to be part of the meeting tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Lamonte.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Conlon?
No.
Mr. Caplis, any comment?
The same thing, doing the King's business. I think everybody's doing great. I mean, all you staff members are phenomenal. Keep doing the good work. I'll keep pushing for your raises, I'm sure. So,
Bigger ladders.
thanks, chief.
Yeah, the only comment I would have to offer is, I'm really very appreciative of the number of department heads who showed up tonight. For this meeting. And also Adam, for your leadership you've shown. Very appreciated. I think we had very good discussion on many of the issues. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, well.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Richard?
Yes.
Moser?